Bueno, pues pasamos a esta siguiente idea de inversión. Además aquí me lo ponen cada vez más complicado porque tenemos en el estudio pues a un invitado. Vamos a conectar con Nueva York con otro invitado. Eduardo Ripollés, ¿qué tal?
Muchas gracias, Javier. Un placer estar aquí, como siempre, poniéndolo difícil.
Ya te digo, director institucional de lo que es negocio institucional en MAPFRE AM. Oye, cuéntanos, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Ahora daremos paso a nuestro invitado cuando lo tengamos aquí en pantalla, para ya saludarle, pero cuéntanos, ¿qué vamos a hacer? ¿Qué idea nos vais a presentar y por qué pues, este invitado en concreto?
Bueno, lo primero de todo agradecer al Confidencial y a FINEC este evento, que la verdad es que ya está siendo ya una auténtica referencia y este año está siendo un auténtico éxito de calidad de gente y por supuesto de calidad de imagen y de calidad de online, que eso ha hecho que este entorno en el que vivimos mejoremos todos mucho. Sí. Bueno, el motivo de tener aquí a Jonathan es porque MAPFRE hace 4 años aproximadamente decidió hacer una apuesta muy importante desde Luxemburgo para aportar soluciones y productos novedosos más allá de la gama habitual. Lo hicimos en la parte ESG con una gestora francesa y en la parte de renta variable americana surgió la oportunidad, que es magnífica, de trabajar con Boyar Value Group. Jonathan es una persona que lleva a trabajar en la compañía de Value Group, Boyar Value Group, creada por su padre en 1975, él es ahora el presidente, y lo que nos aporta es absoluto conocimiento del mercado americano, tanto de small, de mid, de large cap, desde un enfoque value. Entonces, no queríamos dejar pasar la oportunidad, montamos un fondo de inversión conjuntamente los dos. Ese fondo está yendo fantásticamente bien y estamos encantados tanto en la relación humana y en la relación de gestión como en las rentabilidades, y la verdad es que creíamos que tenía mucho sentido hablar de value desde la cuna del value. Es más, claro. Jonathan está en Manhattan, es decir, entonces que nos puede dar unas ideas muy curiosas y muy atractivas de lo que hay allí, de cómo se está viendo el mercado y cuál es la relación que tiene con las empresas.
Vamos con la idea entonces.
Por favor.
Jonathan, hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
So, welcome and thank you for joining us. So it's your turn. You have to explain us why you have found value in this company. So go ahead. You have 10 minutes. So the clock starts now.
Okay. I'll talk as fast as I can, but thank you very much for having me. I'm truly honored to be speaking at the event. The company I'm going to present is called Angi, which is roughly 2.1% of the MAPFRE US Forgotten Value Fund. Angi is not your typical value investment. It's not statistically cheap, but as I will explain during the presentation, it has characteristics that we believe make it extremely compelling long-term investment at current levels. So what is Angi? It operates the largest digital marketplace that connects consumers with service professionals such as plumbers, handymen, and electricians for their homes. Angi is 85% owned by IAC, which is controlled by media mogul Barry Diller. IAC is roughly a 1% position in the MAPFRE US Forgotten Value Fund. And Mr. Diller has an excellent long-term track record and a proven history of taking businesses that were traditionally done offline and turning them into very, very profitable online businesses. Some of his successes in the past were Expedia, Match.com, and Ticketmaster. And he's been extremely rewarding to shareholders who stood by him. If you had invested in IAC in 1995, it would have compounded at 16% per year since then versus about 10% for the S&P 500. So what attracts us to Angi? It's really the size of the network. It has 250,000 service professionals on the platform. To us, this is something that would be extremely costly and time-consuming for a competitor to replicate. They have a huge head start. Another thing is Angi also addresses a large fragmented industry with low digital penetration. We estimate that less than 20% of home service projects are fulfilled online, and the total addressable market is roughly $500 billion. We believe this opportunity is not too dissimilar to concert ticketing and airline and hotel reservations before Mr. Diller disrupted those businesses with both Ticketmaster and Expedia. So just a brief history of the company. It was originally called Service Magic, and it was in 2012 or so, it was rebranded as Home Advisor. And they were chugging along, and in 2017, Home Advisor merged with a publicly traded company called Angi's List. They did this opportunistically, and this gave them tremendous scale. And importantly, in 2018, Home Advisor purchased a company called Handy. And what Handy it was and is an on-demand service that helps homeowners complete routine jobs like house cleaning or handyman services, basically at a touch of a button. And the Handy acquisition is critical as Angi is using that platform as the engine for its new fixed price product, which I will discuss momentarily. So Angi is not only controlled by master capital allocator Barry Diller, but there's a great team leading it. It's under the supervision of IAC CEO Joey Levin, who coincidentally earlier this week I had on my podcast, The World According to Boyar, to discuss the Angi opportunity because we're really trying to get the story out there and create value for our clients. Its CEO was the co-founder of Handy, and he brings a real entrepreneurial energy and product focus to the company that we believe is extremely necessary at this stage. And the CFO is also from Handy, and the significant experience in fixed price services will be one of the company's growth engines going forward. So Angi is rapidly growing and evolving. So historically, and IAC has a history of this, they disrupt themselves. The largest sources of revenue have really been in the form of advertising, either for paid lead generation or just traditional online advertising. So in a situation like that, a plumber would pay for a lead or would pay for an advertisement on the platform. However, like all good business people, Angi is obsessed with customer satisfaction. And in order to improve customer satisfaction and obtain more service professionals, they're now really leaning into a fixed price model. So what is this model? In this model, a homeowner fills out a service request online. Angi prices the product and subcontracts it out to a professional and guarantees the work. This doesn't take 24 or 48 hours. This is all done instantaneously, no negotiation, no stress. Homeowners are extremely happy as a service is guaranteed by a major company, and service providers have guaranteed revenue. So it's really a win for both. And what this does is it leads to a much better experience for both homeowners and service providers. And this shift is happening rapidly. So if you take their revenue on a run rate basis, it's reached a little more than 10% of total revenue after just 1 year. So it's really growing fast. And the opportunity is tremendous. Not only because the total addressable market is roughly $500 billion and less than 20% of all requests are currently done online. You know, most people get handyman or plumber recommendations from a neighbor or a friend, but Angi is doing it better. So what they're doing is they're harnessing the power of algorithms, technology to provide a better service online. And some people's initial reaction might be, oh, I would never do something like that online. I want a friend or a colleague or a neighbor to recommend someone to me. What I would argue is if you look back 15 or 20 years ago and look how people were dating, at that time, it would have been considered extremely strange to meet someone online instead of being introduced through a friend. And obviously through Barry Diller's Match.com and other sites, they changed this habit, and now it's a major and accepted way that people meet. Angi, sees the same offline to online transition in this category, and the best way they believe to do this is through a fixed price service. So this is a marketplace business. And what's most important in a marketplace business by far is scale. And Angi is laser focused on getting more people on the platform, especially on the supply side, as currently 40% of service requests are not being filled. So the demand from the consumer side is clearly there. They just need more service providers. And Angi's fixed price model, where service providers are guaranteed revenue, is the key to getting more supply on the site, because obviously the contractors are guaranteed payment for the work without having to pay any advertising fees. It's really a no-brainer. And having more suppliers in the network will help fulfill more of the 40% of service requests going unmonetized, leading to a better consumer experience, which then leads to more consumer demand. And we have seen the same virtuous cycle in other marketplace businesses like Uber, which is also a non-traditional value name that is owned in the fund as well. Like ride hailing or food delivery, home service is a business that plays out at the hyper-local level. Angi, as a result of the merger in 2017, has built scale that's, as I mentioned earlier, is really unmatched. And they've developed unique partnerships with brokerage firms, with retailers, where if you go online, let's say to a furniture store and you're about to check out, they give you an option to have an Angi professional set up the furniture in your home. This just leads to having more people on the platform. And IAC and both Angi are socially responsible companies, which is something that's very important to the fund and us. And Angi is effectively controlled by Barry Diller, and some people might be worried about having too much power in one person's hands. But we view that differently. We view him as a very engaged shareholder who has a lot of money invested in this and is going to invest in the long run, as opposed to investing to meet next quarter's earnings. In fact, Angi and the IAC companies don't even give quarterly earning estimates anymore, just to demonstrate their long-term focus. So let's talk about valuation. And we're traditional value investors, and the major investors they're making in the service, significantly mask the overall profitability of the company. And as value investors, we typically do not like to value companies on a multiple of revenue. We like profitable businesses, or on the cheap. But this business's profitability is masked by the significant SG&A they're putting into the business. So most marketplace businesses trade for 4 to 10 times revenue. What we do is we're valuing it at 5 times revenue, and for a $14 stock, we get to about $19. And that's decent upside, but we're not in it for the stock to go up 5 points. We think if they're able to execute on their plan and on their vision, this stock will be a much higher stock price in a few years from now. Angi has a high-class problem. They have more customers than they know what to do with. They're just figuring out how to fulfill customer orders. We believe this could be solved. It just takes time. And as I discussed, we're attracted to Angi for a variety of reasons. It checks a lot of boxes for us. They have a terrific long-term oriented shareholder in both Barry Diller and IAC. The total addressable market is large, and they're the biggest player in a business where scale really matters. And they're cash flow positive. They've proven they can be profitable, and have a really significant long-term runway for growth. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And again, thank you for having me present.
Thank you, John. Two questions. I will go after that with Eduardo, but the first question is concerning the CEO history, because we have seen that the actual CEO was at the beginning the guy running the startup that was sold to Angi, and now he's leading this listed Nasdaq company. Is he or is the team ready to manage this big company? Because this is not a startup. What is your feeling about that?
IAC, and I talked to Joey Levin about this extensively earlier this week. You know, they believe in giving people who are, you know, who have tremendous passion and tremendous vision opportunities to succeed. And I would say at this point in time, you need a real entrepreneurial person running the business because that's what they need at this moment in time. And they have the backing of IAC, which owns 85% of it, to help supervise along the way. So I think they have the right person, and I give the CEO a lot of credit. I mean, he built Handy from nothing to a pretty substantial business. So he's definitely qualified for the job.
Question is, how is the capital allocation of the company? I see that they do buybacks, for example. What are you feeling about that?
Well, I think you really have to look at the parent company level and look what IAC has done, because that shapes what's done on the that's going to be done at Angi. IAC, you know, and this is a company we followed for a long time, when they couldn't find deals in 2008, 2010, in the course of a couple of years, they bought back about half a company's stock. They bought companies opportunistically. They bought Care.com on the cheap after there was a scandal there. So I think one of the strengths of the company is their capital allocation. They do what's right for shareholders. So they're not just buying stock back for the sake of buying stock. They're buying it at the right price. Okay.
So last question. Which are the competitors that actually Angi has?
Yeah, I would say their biggest competitors are the offline stores right now. The traditional, because no one's really doing what they're doing in fixed price. So right now, what they're competing against are the local, I don't know if this translates well, mom and pop operations that are plumbers and electricians that aren't on the platform. What they're trying to do is saying, come on our platform instead of, this way you don't have to hire a bookkeeper. This way you don't have to worry about accounts receivable and payable. They'll handle everything. So I would say the biggest competitors are the offline market, which they're trying to disrupt.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us. I hope that next year you're going to be here with us physically in Madrid, in Spain. So it's going to be easy to talk with you. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oye, Eduardo, tengo aquí una pregunta que no me atrevía a pasársela a él por aquello del pudor. Ya no está, ¿no? Por aquello del pudor español, ¿no? Pero que bueno, que razón no le falta a este lector, ¿no? Que dice, oye, esto está muy bien, pero en España es común no declarar ciertos trabajillos, ¿no? Es decir, tú al final pues contratas a alguien que te ayuda en casa y eso pues tira por otro lado. Entonces preguntaba, oye, ¿esto cómo funciona en Estados Unidos? Si eso cómo se contempla en un modelo de negocio como este, si es un riesgo, en definitiva.
No, es un mercado muy regulado. Es una de las preguntas que habíamos hablado con John precisamente de lo que es el mercado español desde el punto de vista de servicios domésticos, que es un problema de regulación claramente y de temas fiscales, ¿no? Allí está absolutamente regulado. El plan, todos los trabajos de autónomos, es más, hay una gran demanda de ellos. Es decir, hay un problema muy serio en Estados Unidos ahora mismo de fontaneros, albañiles, carpinteros, electricistas, porque no existen. Entonces, realmente es muy interesante la regulación o el control que se está haciendo laboral, porque es la forma de activar un servicio que hasta la fecha está muy demandado por las compañías y por las empresas, por los ciudadanos y por las familias, y que realmente es que lo que falta es oferta. Entonces, al final lo que está haciendo Angi es hacer un mercado, crear un mercado, crear que haya una serie de personas que puedan proveer de esa oferta y que compitan por la demanda que hay ahí, que es lo que decía él. Es decir, cuando yo tengo un servicio que dar, lo pongo encima de la mesa, el pedido, y los que hay ofertan de una manera oficial y regulada.
Dos preguntas más, nos quedan 3 minutos y medio. Una que también es muy interesante, que dice, oye, ¿cómo se va a adaptar esta tecnología? Están creando esa aplicación, ¿no? el booking de los servicios domésticos, a una megatendencia como es el envejecimiento de la población, que va a tender a ¿Cómo se va a adaptar a eso? Si tienes ahí
Bueno, el haber elegido este caso también fue un poco porque esa tendencia de lo que le llaman la silver economy, la economía, el pelo gris, la gente mayor, la verdad es que se ha adaptado de forma muy impresionante.
Lo
utilizan, efectivamente.
Más que llamar por teléfono o tirar al final del vecino que sabe...
Sí, bueno, lo puedes ver aquí en personas de 65 o 70 años que no han tenido más remedio durante la época del confinamiento de tirar de servicios online, evidentemente. Entonces, en Estados Unidos estamos hablando de otra dimensión, es decir, ¿es un modelo extrapolable al mercado europeo? Sí. ¿Solo hay un 5% de los ingresos en Europa? Sí, pero realmente ya existen casos de servicios que hasta ahora era el hombre de confianza el hacerlos online, porque es mucho más sencillo y porque se han dado cuenta que el móvil no solamente es para llamar o para mandar SMS o WhatsApp, sino que se ha convertido en el portador de las soluciones tanto en casa como personales. Entonces, no es un problema realmente que consideremos que ahí es verdad que hay una serie de personas que no tienen esa capacidad o ese avance tecnológico. Claro. Pero Angi yo creo que está mucho más centrado en personas entre los 35 y los 50 años, que creo que estamos todos en ese mundo tecnológico de una forma o de otra.
Oye, última pregunta, 2 minutos. Estamos viendo que al final estamos hablando de una compañía tecnológica, value,
sí,
y que en bolsa pues no se ha visto reflejado. Entonces, ¿eso es una oportunidad o te está diciendo, oye, que a lo mejor todas estas proyecciones que estamos haciendo pues están sobrevaloradas?
No, claramente pensamos que es una oportunidad y precisamente queríamos dar una vuelta de tuerca y además de tener una persona hablando desde Nueva York y contándonos un caso que conoce perfectamente, como conoce a los dueños de la compañía, claro, y como os ha comentado, realmente es que ya dentro del mundo tecnológico y después de la corrección que estamos viviendo en los últimos días, ya hay empresas value. Es decir, ya nos hemos encontrado con que el sector tecnológico, que por defecto era growth, empieza a haber value, empieza a haber empresas que hemos visto la cuenta de resultados como ha pasado de 300 millones a 1.400 millones de dólares, pero la cotización no lo ha reflejado, porque el mercado ha estado centrado en momentum, en otras cosas determinadas y se ha olvidado de empresas que son rentables, que son solventes, que generan caja y que tendrán su premio. Históricamente, además, estas compañías gestionadas por estos gestores con esta especialización de pasar del mundo offline al mundo online tienen su precio a medio y largo plazo. Nosotros, y desde el punto de vista del fondo, el concepto que nos gusta mucho de Jonathan Boyar es que él ve todo como un private equity. Es decir, él ahora analizar las empresas las ve como un private equity, entonces su visión a corto plazo no le va a nublar con la visión a largo plazo. Él ve una oportunidad de entrada a un precio determinado con un descuento determinado, pero si la compañía genera valor, tiene buen management, tiene un buen business plan y tiene competencia, pero es un mercado que puede crecer, no hay prisa. Lo tenemos en cartera, lo mantenemos, tenemos un 2% en cartera, en un momento determinado podemos incrementarlo si consideramos que la posición puede tener más valor porque el mercado lo va y los flujos están yendo hacia la compañía.
Claro. Oye, 30 segundos, no podíamos irnos, ya que habéis repetido, ¿no? Pues repasando la idea del año pasado, más que nada para saber dónde la teníais. Hablábamos del fabricante cervecero, AB Invest, que si no me equivoco ha doblado en este año, ¿no? Sí. Este momento dulce vamos a aprovecharlo, ya llegarán tiempos malos, esperemos que no, pero bueno, hoy vamos a sacar eso. ¿Cómo ha ido? ¿La seguís teniendo en cartera? ¿Qué le decimos un poco a ese inversor que nos fue siguiendo?
Bueno, el año pasado fuimos muy pillos porque en pleno confinamiento hablamos de una cervecera, que yo creo que el mercado lo agradeció, porque estando todos metidos en casa, hablar de algo que genera relax, que genera la sensación de bienestar, pues lo hicimos un poco también por eso, además de por valoración. Cuando Manuel Rodríguez comentó a Bimbev, estaba en 39 euros, ahora está en 62, creo. La seguimos manteniendo en cartera, seguimos teniendo un 2%, ya no es el crecimiento que esperamos, porque además Manuel el año pasado ya dijo que a niveles de 45-50 ya debería ser un valor, perdón, de 50-60 ya debería ser un valor y que ya ha cumplido su misión, y ahora la estamos rotando. Nos gusta Diageo, por ejemplo, ahora. Es decir, el año pasado era Bimbe, pues este año es Diageo. Bueno, pues seguimos con el sector beverage, el sector cervecero, el sector alimenticio, porque hay oportunidades, porque el consumo se está disparando y porque realmente ahora mismo ya no solamente es el consumo doméstico, volvemos a la restauración, volvemos a la hostelería, a los hoteles, y entonces, bueno, pues creemos que ahora es un buen momento para otras compañías que a lo mejor se han quedado más retrasadas.
Pues Eduardo, gracias por traernos a Jonathan.
Un placer.
Ahí en directo desde Nueva York, y a ti por acompañarnos. Y nada, esperamos que el año que viene pues estés aquí en la 6ª edición del Iberian Value. Muchísimas
gracias, Javier, y gracias a todos.